So where did it come from, the idea of using the conspiracy theory sort of as a base for telling this story?
Well, I was just very interested in alien conspiracy theorists and like a lot of like the conspiracies they had, and I just thought it was fascinating when you listen to these people. Like sometimes they have like really good points. You're like, huh, like that is something. There's something there, but then it kind of just gets more and more complicated, layer upon layer, and you're like, all right, now I don't know if I can
Yeah,
believe
you're like, I don't know
all
if I
of
buy
these
this.
things. But I always found it a fascinating thing to like kind of unravel, and we were just really curious to see like someone who held these types of beliefs. And, when they're in their setting, their world, it's believable or it's everyone's with it. But what are they like in everyday life? How do people react to them with those beliefs? I guess.
And why did you decide the particular conspiracy theory of aliens as opposed to something about governments?
I mean, I would say that this is a bit about the government and about how they hide things from us, which we, have a lot of reason to believe is true. But aliens specifically, I don't know. There's just something kind of. I feel like everybody has an opinion about aliens, and even when we were talking to people about the idea when we were writing the script, everybody. In a group of 4 or 5 people, somebody would say, I've seen something. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we were just interested.
I think alien conspiracies are also the most accessible in a weird way. Like, I mean, that's where I started. I was like, oh, these alien, with alien conspiracies, and there's a much more complicated, darker conspiracies out there. But aliens is like, I think, everyone, yeah, like you said, has an opinion about aliens and
they're a
has
little more
feeling.
fun.
Yeah, a little more fun.
As well.
Of course, I feel in some ways that the conspiracy theory around it is something of a MacGuffin with the film. This is really a character study, which is one of the things I found really fascinating. The conspiracy sort of goes aside as we focus on the main characters. Is that where that started, the idea of the character study?
No, it definitely started with the idea of this conspiracy theorist and what would his day-to-day life look like and how would he interact with just regular people. I think that's where the concept of having a waitress at a diner, it's like, okay, well, where does he go, what does he do? He goes to a diner because he doesn't know how to feed himself really, or and so it kind of evolved into a story about friendship once we just started developing like the characters' dynamics.
Willem especially, because of course he's our focus. He's such a fascinating character because he deeply believes these things. Or maybe you can talk about the process of working with the actor about developing this idea that it doesn't matter whether we believe what he says is true. He believes it.
Yeah, I think having scenes that just like you said, kind of just put the conspiracy in the back burner and only bring it out at moments where it needs to be discussed. I guess where you always know he has these beliefs, but he's never getting too into it. We kind of want it to always be there, lurking underneath, but never being the focus of everything.
We also kind of realized while making it that at the end of the day, it's more a story about loss. And it's about this person who has lost a lot in his life. He lost his best friend and he lost his wife. And so I think that's sort of what humanizes him as well. He's sort of making this movie that's about aliens. You watch these like painful interactions with, an actress playing his former wife and you kind of realize like why she left him.
When with the development, especially the film within the film, it's such an interesting concept. The idea of if we dramatize things, somehow people think it's more real. Where did that idea come from? Why did you put that idea in there?
Well, I always really wanted to make a movie about making a movie, and it probably stems from making movies ourselves. And I guess, we, in a weird way, I hate to say it was about practicality, but there's definitely a moment where we're like, okay, we can't afford to have these elaborate backstories and showing government stuff. And we're like, well, kind of a light went off. We're like, well, if we made them make a movie, we could have, our film becomes so much deeper or more rich, where it's like now they're playing 2 characters. We can't afford that many actors, but we can double up. So a lot of it, I think, was, with that angle.
Yeah, like showing these moments from his past alien encounters, but not having to worry about the effects being good because we didn't have the budget for it, and not being able to hire a bunch of actors. Yeah, you double up every actor is now playing multiple characters, and the location. The main location is Todd's house, and now you kind of see it from a different angle when it's shot on this DV camera. That's also where we all slept. So.
How did you find working together? Director teams are becoming much more common. How do you guys find working together? Is there a trade-off that you do?
Not really.
Yeah, I think, we're very equal in terms of like the script was, 50-50 directing, 50 editing. I mean, we did everything side by side the entire time. And we should preface that we also date. We've been dating before
and
the
live
film.
together, so it made it a lot easier. We love it, and I think that a lot of directing teams are emerging because it's financially beneficial because you have two people kind of putting in the time and money, and then also for us it was, if there's ever a moment where you're struggling with an idea, the other person might have an idea and can jump in right away and say, well, what about this? It's like, oh, thank God, because I've been burnt out and I didn't know, how to solve that. Or, you're just bringing two heads to an idea, and it doesn't always work, but for us, it really was very helpful. But for us, we both work day jobs, and so editing this movie on nights and weekends, you'd come home and just like, oh, I don't want to work on this until 2 a.m. again, but you have the other person there to be like, no, we're doing it, we got to do it. And it was just it was great.